and welcome back to Spirit Mom. Today at Spirit School, we're going to discuss another trick we can use to catch the ego in its tracks. It loves to take over the show, and even as we progress down our road of improving our lives little by little by little and catching the obvious things the ego does, it still somehow manages to take over our days, and we're like, how did this happen? I know better. Well, and one huge trick you can use to catch yourself is listen to yourself. So sometimes we think we're holier than thou inside, like inside our mind chatter, we're like, oh, I'm so perfect, but everybody else is not. Listen to the way you talk to other people, specifically husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, mom, dad, brothers, sisters, children, immediate family. Because that's when we don't put on the mask of perfection. That's where we'll let our true self slip. And this is where you go, I see you. I see what you're doing. Because we talk to other people, specifically close family members, based on how we're actually feeling inside. So the actual turmoil inside, whether we're conscious of it or not, will make itself known to us. It's almost like a help me to the self from the self when you hear yourself mouthing off to people. And remember, it's never their fault. Even if they're starting with the mouthing, what you say is up to you and your serenity, your calm, your peace. And sometimes people can trigger us, and that's a whole different lesson on today's. Today's is when you just wake up and you're being grumpy to everybody from the get-go, and you're mouthing off to everybody everywhere you go, and you end up having this like chip on your shoulder that, why can't anybody get anything done? I'm the only one that does anything around here. Except inside your head though, you think you're calm, you think you're perfect, you think you're just being firm, you think you're setting boundaries for other people, because we do have to respect the self and we do have to set boundaries. But that doesn't mean we get to snark off when we get to, like, our tone. It's our tone we want to be listening to, because there's a big difference to, honey, can you please pick that up? I would really appreciate it if I didn't have to pick that up every day. To pick that up, I have to pick it up every day. That just isn't fair. See the big jarring difference, right? We're basically saying the same thing, but the tone speaks to our inner calmness. So I'm not saying fake the good tone to a point, but a bad tone will create a bad vibration. So if you have to fake it, you're better off to fake the good tone. But what you can do if you don't want to fake anything is say nothing. Stay in an inner calm, peaceful place. Even if it's not peaceful, stay in a quiet place, because there we can truly find what's wrong, because that's the next step. Once we've established that our tone is wrong, our tone is off, our tone is negative, then we go inside and we ask ourselves, what's wrong? Because it's not this. Because it's not triggering situations that we're really looking at here. We're looking at a wide spanning thing. So this tone has been happening all day. Okay, why? If you're a woman, it might be your time. If you're a man, it might be, and this is men and women, it might be that you need coffee, sugar. Not that you should indulge in those things, but coffee and sugar can trigger your body into these kinds of responses. Or it could be a mental thing. You're going to see your parents tomorrow, and subconsciously you know that's going to be jarring. Or not your parents, you love your parents, your in-laws, you don't like your in-laws, you're going to see them and, oh, I just don't want to see them. She always asks me things, I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? There's stories about everything. In-laws, co-workers, you have to go back to work tomorrow because you were just off for a month or a week or a day, and now you're like, oh, I don't want to go back to work. So you're projecting that out onto everybody around you. It could be a movie you watched last night that triggered something about your childhood. The triggers and the mood slippage can come from almost anything. And when we're on this path of growth and we learn to acknowledge instant triggers to instant reactions, This is the next level when we notice it's a subtler picking up on the self, because you're really just looking at your tone, because you might even still be watching your words. You might be making sure you're not saying negative words, but is your tone bland and blasé? Or is it slightly like passive aggressive or near hostility? But you're making sure you're saying the right words, and you don't know why you're mad. And you might not even picked up on that you're mad. You might have originally thought, because this is going to trigger a vibrational like matches like situation where it will make everybody that you encounter start being hostile to you. And then you can spiral really deep into a poor me thing, thinking you're the innocent victim that did nothing wrong. So it's best to step back and notice the tone of your voice. The tone of your voice needs to be positive with high inflections. And you should have a smile on your face. And that sounds like Stepford wifey, but it is the image we want to project, not in fakeness. We need to find inside and make it authentic. And if you have to fake it for a little bit, fine, or silence, but go inside, take a minute to yourself. Take the rest of the day to yourself. If you have that like ability to go take the rest of the day to yourself, do it. If you can take an hour, do it. Half an hour, do it. 5 minutes, do it. No time at all, then stop talking and reflect inside as you go about your day. Try not to talk to people until you find it, because I'm telling you, when you find it, when you find what it was, when you find, oh, it was that movie, oh, it's the in-laws, oh, it's my parents, oh, it's my siblings, oh, it's my daughter's going for her first tooth drilling, and I'm really stressed out about it, and like the dentist will get me stressed out. Even for the kids, I'll be like, oh God. There's always a trigger to be found. There's always that spark that ignited the way you're acting. It's not other people's fault. It's never other people's fault. Do you think Mother Teresa or Gandhi or Jesus ever sassed off to people? No. They got firm, but they stayed high vibrational. Maybe they had the odd slip too. I don't know. I wasn't there. But they're the type of people. Then there's people like that today, like Lee Harris. He's like a Chandler person on YouTube, and maybe I'm wrong, but he just seems like the kind of person that just never, he's like a future one day will be a saint, because he just seems like the type that never gets triggered and never gets flustered and never has a bad day. I don't know. And not like that he's privileged. He just seems like he has it mastered, like on lockdown, on, you know? And yesterday we talked about entities, and he channels, so maybe the entities help him out with that. Positive entities. But that's the goal. We want to get to that place where nothing will knock us off our stool. This human world is our video game to master and play, but we should never let it bring our souls down. We should always keep a high soul, a high vibration, high ascending, like up, up, up. That's the goal. And we can't do that if we're getting into these down Eeyore moods, because it's just going to spiral further. It's just going to lead you to be in a worse mood the next day, and a worse mood the next day, and a worse mood the next day. Like when I was in my dark place that lasted years, every day was like, ugh. There was points where I was like, I can't remember the last time I was happy. Like, you don't want to get like that. When we want to stay high vibrational, you want to be to the point where I can't remember the last time I was upset. That's where I would, like, you know, I every day I'm happy. Every day my base is happy. But things come and they knock me off balance. But the goal is to get back balanced as fast as possible. And the more we learn where to catch ourselves, because we can slip back into unconscious behavior like that. When something plays off any of our shadow ego things, next thing you know, we're unconscious and we didn't even notice. So we could teach ourselves tips and tricks. Like the other day we talked about, when you say something, why did I say that? Because did it come from an unconscious behavior? Or if you really don't think you said it, who else said it? And it doesn't really matter who, as long as you've identified it wasn't you and it wasn't positive, disassociate with it completely. And we're almost going to take the same thing into this. Once we realize that grumpy attitude is getting splashed out to everyone, once we see that we're literally doing it to everyone, we can honestly be like, okay, obviously this isn't everybody's fault. everybody's not the bad guy and I'm the good guy, I'm the poor victim. That's not the case. What's wrong? And we ask ourselves, what is wrong? And maybe we find out why. I bet you will, if you meditate long enough and deep enough and with enough soulful intent, without letting the ego push you back to blaming other people or poor me. Then you don't go, well, I guess I'm just too depressed, poor me. No, there's a reason. You're a mature adult or a very mature child if you're watching this, and you can find a reason. You have that ability to look inside. It's not too hard. The ego is going to tell you it's too hard. The shadow is going to tell you it's too hard. And negative entities are going to tell you it's too hard because they don't want you to go inside. The more you go inside and clean out space, because every time you do this, you find that pain, you've just let it go. The art of letting it go. When we don't wallow, we find it, we let it go, and now we're bigger, better, more expanded universal beings. It's a beautiful place to be, people. And the amounts of growth is pretty much endless. You just keep digging up the bad and letting in the good. Digging up the bad, letting in the good. And life just gets better and better and better. More abundant. Manifestations happen easier. Life is sweeter. People treat you better. Everything just gets better. So I believe you can do this, people. Look inside, find the reason, and watch our tones. Goodbye for now, Spirit Mom.